Hello and welcome back, beautiful souls. It is our pleasure to be sharing Permission to Follow Your Inner GPS, Your Inner Guided Purpose Soul Path podcast. We have yet another amazing, beautiful soul with us. I am your host, Angel Lady Terry Marie, and you're in the right place if you're looking for different ways to really tap into your own purpose and find the strength and the courage because you know you're not alone. So with that said, please help me welcome Belkis Clarke-Mitchum. She is a motivational teacher and transformational spiritual life coach. She serves women who have survived sexual abuse and trauma. There seems to be a lot of so much of that in the news these days, and I'm not happy about that, and yet it's time that women and men, because there are some women who do that, but right now we're focusing on the female piece, and hopefully we'll be able to help someone or a couple of someones to tap back into their own goddess energies, the divinity within them. Please, beautiful, welcome and share with us who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much for sharing your space with me. It is really, truly quite an honor, to be able to talk to you, talk to your listeners. Yeah, as you said, my name is Belkis. I was born in the Caribbean on a tiny island called St. Kitts. And when I was just a kid, my parents moved to an even smaller island called St. Martin. And since then, I've lived on some very small islands, some bigger islands and continents, and move about a bit wherever life's purpose, life's journey take me. I am there, and I'm a motivational teacher. As you said, I don't just like to speak. I like to make sure that when I leave, that there is something that people can implement. So it's teaching the principles that are necessary for that transformation that a lot of people are just longing for. It's like, gosh, when will my be, when will I get past this, when will I break the habits and stuff. So it is definitely a joy and a thrill to be able to connect to individuals every day, and to help them on their journey of transformation. And I mean, I was sexually abused as a kid. I have walked the road of depression and suicide, and I tried suicide several times, and I couldn't find the good in me. I couldn't get my spiritual self aligned. And therefore my physical self wasn't aligning. And it was a tough, long road, but when it started to change, and I decided, look, I could help someone else. And I realized there was so many persons to help. After I'd done my 2 degrees, I was like, I'm not going back into the 9 to 5. The call was just too great. And so 10 years later, here I am.
10 years later. Yes, your overnight success 10 years later, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like, oh, wow, look at her, look at him. And you have no idea what it took to get here.
They haven't. No,
how did you start turning it around, beautiful? How did you start tapping into, there's a bigger purpose, because obviously my body is still here and spirit did not allow you to leave it. So how did you start turning that around, gorgeous?
You asked that question and I get thrilled, because it's like a little zzz goes through my system, because I am remembering how, as a way in helping myself, I used to talk to a lot of other youngsters, a lot of youth who were facing depression, facing suicide, and I didn't even realize at that point that because I was teaching them what I had learned, that I was actually coaching them. I didn't know that then. And people started seeking me out, but something wasn't still connecting for me on the inside. And I actually kept running from my story, running from wanting to be out there, running from it all getting away from me. But the thing is, when you talk about when did I change it, the question is, when did it change me? Because when your purpose, when our greater spirit has designed us and fit us into the whole grand scheme and in a pattern, I might try to go over on this side because over there looks nicer and easy or more pleasant, or it's more acceptable. But if my part is in the middle, then it's where I keep being drawn back. So I didn't change it, it changed me. As a matter of fact, as I grew through my journey, I realized that it's like more and more people keep being attracted who had the same experience. And the truth is, I could walk into a room a lot of the times, you don't have to say a word, and I can pinpoint persons who've been abused. That is how sensitive, and that scared me because I didn't know what that was, and I just wanted to run from it. And one day I was about to commit suicide again. I was depressed, I'd been married, and I was being physically abused. And I sat down outside under the night sky. It was like late at night, beautiful Caribbean night though. The stars were out in abundance, and I could hear the sea off in the distance. And I sat there with a razor blade in my hand, ready to slit my wrist. And all of a sudden, I saw flashes and flashes through my head of women that I'd helped, youngsters who had talked back from suicide, and they just keep rolling through my head, and tears started to flow, and I'm sobbing there in the darkness, just off on a stone, sitting in the yard, crying my heart out. And I could hear not a literal voice, but an inner voice saying that you do not need to die for anybody. You need to live so they can know they can live. So they can know there is hope. So they can know how to find their hope, how to find their light. And I started, I meditated more, I prayed more, I communicated more. And the truth is, a lot of people might say that sounds like a bunch of stuff, but it was a combination of a spiritual conviction and all the experiences I've had. And it didn't open up right away, that I could do something with it. I still run that thing. In my society, you tell people, look, I shake your hand and I get flashes of your life through my head. And this is one of the first times I'm actually saying this. And they look at you like you're kind of weird, you're pretty strange. But that's the insight. When I pray, that's the insight that I can get, and that's how I helped a lot of people. And it's not psychic. It is a communion that I have with my creator. It's, and if he created it, and if we are created, then it means that you've got insight that I need to be able to help. And so I went through that whole process, still scared, still not knowing what to do, and decided, you know what? I'm going back to school because it's what I've always wanted to do. But in the process of doing my degree, I started to realize that the 9 to 5, the journalism that I'd done for 12 years wasn't my calling. Whenever I stood on a stage, people, because of so some people were calling me to speak, different platforms in churches, before youth group. People were asking me to speak. They heard me speak once. And all of a sudden, the word was spreading all over. And so people were constantly calling me to speak at seminars, at workshops, at retreats, different things. And I realized when I stood on a stage and I taught what I know, everything in me came alive. I buzzed with energy, and I felt as if I would just fill up with what they needed, emptied it out, and then I was alive again. So every time it felt like this being renewed, and I knew that's what I was born to do. I was born to teach them. And so I remembered the others that I had helped on one-on-one. And that's when I discovered what I'd been doing for the past decade had been coaching others. And so I said, well, the motivational teaching has always been natural, come naturally. Now it's time to make it a career. And so I'd like to tell people it's a wham boom kind of thing, but it's actually a journey. No, first my healing, and even when I was healed, I was still running from that purpose, that pull, that call. But I knew it was purpose, because nothing else does for me than hearing somebody who was suicidal, whom I helped, call up and said, I now have my master's degree, or I know I've started my own business. I have a beautiful family and a man who loves me. When a woman has gone through abuse and come out on that end, that but so basically it was that journey, and it was a pivotal moment that all came together where I couldn't escape it anymore. Nothing else was satisfying to me. I am good at other things. I teach, I'm a pretty good teacher. I did journalism for 12 years, but there is nothing like when I stand in my purpose to tell people there's purpose to you, there's value in you, there's a truth you must embrace, and there's a light you must emit. That is what gets me going. And when I can teach them how, whew, yeah.
And I've already gotten chills like at least twice that I'm aware of, probably a little more here and there. And I am a 25-year thriver of domestic abuse.
Hello.
That's not something you just, go out there and say. It's like, okay. And yet, it is very much a process. And I, too, attempted to leave this world because it was too hard. And here I am, and here you are. Otherwise, we would not be having this conversation. And it's so important because the spirit, whatever you want to label it, right? Whether it's God or Allah or Buddha or divine source, they help guide you as long as you're open to it, and even in ways that you're not aware of in the beginning, and maybe not for a few years. And it's scary when you can tune in. And I believe I don't like the word psychic so much either, but it's intuitive. You're tapping directly into spirit. The spirit through you is helping you connect with the person in front of you so that you can help them.
That's right.
And in helping others, don't you also get more healing for yourself?
That's right. The healing journey is a continuous journey. It's progressive. As a matter of fact, it grows, in quality. It grows because when you are at this level, if you're truly open to becoming your best, even when you're at a place where you're happy, that happiness can grow, intensify, mature, and become that much more. So if you really are open to being guided, like you say, if you want to say God, creator, spirit, whatever, if you're truly open, for me, it's God. That's what I grew up with, I stay open always, and that makes a difference, and it grows. So it's never just like you reach this level and that's it. There's always more to be had. And when there was a point I thought I was happy. When I met my husband, I thought, oh wow, another dude to come with some madness in my life. I'm good over here. But for some reason, it's like God just kept, and I'm like, okay, fine. Finally gave him a chance. And I was happy. And I was happy, and then he did not want me to leave. He wanted to marry me. I became happier because he now was a partner that I could share my life with, who was like, I'm here for the long haul, and who supports my dreams as if they were his. And then came my daughter. And happiness. So these are just very practical examples, but it's to show how the more we're guided, the more open we are to receive, and the more when you dominate one area of happiness, one area of goodness, one area of recovery and healing, another area opens up. So every time I help somebody, it just piles on, which means I got a whole pile of happy going on.
Yes, you do. I'd like to go back just to really highlight something, because this is something I learned a long time ago, and I teach it to my clients. And you didn't realize it at the moment. I'm sure you have since then, when you were helping the little children and some of the others that had been going through depression, and you didn't feel healed totally in yourself yet, but you were just one or two steps ahead of those you were helping. And that's all it really takes. And it sounds like, well, how does that happen? Because you're already on your process, you're already on your path.
That's
and
right.
You know, we don't have to have all the answers. And I'm finally okay in the last 3 years saying, I don't know, I'll ask, or let me ask somebody else. You know, I don't have to know the answers anymore. And when I was growing up, if I didn't have the answers, it was not a happy occasion. Let's just put it that way. I got into a lot of trouble, and yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could tell you about moments of not having the answers and seeking for the answers, of repeated behaviors that were self-destructive, of broken relationships that I should
Mhm.
not have been in, you know. So not, like you say, you're just you're steps ahead of others at that point. So over the years, what I would have accumulated was a whole lot of experience, a whole lot more healing, a whole lot more knowledge, you know, and a whole lot more helping other persons to, you know. And the thing is, a lot of the times we don't even realize how it is some of the trauma that we have been through that's
Mhm.
impacting the way, impacting the kind of relationships we end up in, impacting why we probably don't have what we want in relationships, or a relationship that we do desire, you know. And or it even impacts our finances and the way we
Yeah.
behave on jobs. And I love to get people to uncover all that's behind that, so they can recover what they should have had in the first place.
And that's what a lot of, you know, I love that you have the practical approach, because people in general, no nasty notes, y'all, thank you. I just said that ahead of time. Spirituality, for a lot of people or the general population who don't understand what it is, or think, oh my gosh, there's that woo-woo person up in the sky, never having any concrete thoughts, never a grounding. Even if they don't know the words, they think it's just you meditate and everything comes to you. No, you meditate, create space, and then do your part. And there's a practicality or a practical side, because we are in physical form. And I like what you said, you know, the practical side in your spiritual path, because you can do one or the other or have it lopsided and it's not balanced.
Exactly. I honestly believe that we were first a spiritual concept. We
Yes.
were a spiritual concept, and we are manifested in a physical form. That is my firm, firm belief, based on my experiences, based on research. That's what I believe. And so if you're just going to look to, let's get the outside of the house prettified, and then there's nothing going on with the spiritual side, the inner side of you, you've got something inside you dying. And
Yeah.
that is why there are people that I've worked with who are making money. They got the good stuff. They have the job and everything. They can't figure out why they still feel disconnected, why they're still not as happy as they thought that they would be. And when they start to recognize there's a spiritual side to them, there's something internal that they need to fix, what they start to do is breathe life back into the spiritual aspects. So the pretty house on the outside and it's prettified on the inside, and what you got is a glow and a light that nobody else can really emulate. You know, they can't copy it. It is just so you know. And that is when, you know, you're in your real space, your authentic space. That is when who you were designed to be all of a sudden shows up in full force, and you got no apologies to make to anybody about showing up, because you
I
just
like that body language. Like, you got no apology.
no.
No.
But yeah, we want to fix a lot of the times. I say a lot of the times we want to skip to the good stuff, but there's some work to be done. It's not a fairy wand that's waved and whoop, fairy godmother turns your pumpkin into a carriage kind of thing. That's not what it is. You must, because I am honestly convinced. Let's take that fairy tale, for example. Cinderella, it was, with the pumpkin and stuff. Had Cinderella truly not been internally conditioned or prepared to accommodate the prince, she still would not accept him. And that is what had she not been aligned spiritually,
Got it.
internally, etc., prepared. So we have desires. Hers was more than a desire. She was willing to try the shoe on again. She was willing to go to the palace. She was willing to say, look, I'm leaving all this that I've known behind, no matter if I'm scared or whatever, and I'm going, not just for the riches. But if your mindset and your spirit isn't aligned with those desires you think that you want, you will keep missing them over and over and over, and you'll keep choosing some frogs that will never turn into your princes. And I just, that analogy just came in because I said the whole pumpkin thing, but it's a very real thing in whatever it is we desire. We don't want to put in the work. We want the glory of it, but we don't want to do our part. We just want magic to happen. And it all things Cinderella had magic, but Lady Girl had to get up there. She had to talk to the prince, dance with the prince. She had to leave when she was supposed to, follow some orders. She had to get herself together, and then she had to make herself available again to try a shoe on in all her dingy, grungy stuff. So what dingy, grungy stuff we got going on that we just trying to hide, that we don't want to show up? But
I love the way you shared that. I might borrow a similar analogy. It's like, okay, remember so-and-so? Remember Beauty and the Beast or something. I love that. You also mentioned that the path changed you rather than you changed for it. When did you start to notice the integration or the blending of the two? Because without your openness and willingness, you would not have recognized it even if you had gone on doing it.
That's true. And that's why I talk about alignment. When I was in university, I remember sitting in a classroom, and I heard one of the lecturers say, when you think about your career after here, think about who you are in the process of pursuing your career. And in that class, I don't think I heard anything else in that lecture. I started to really consider what do you mean, who am I? I've been doing all this stuff. I was president. I was on the ASB for 2 years. I was running the school newspaper. I'm like, I know who I am. I'm coming. And then underneath of that came that niggling doubt. I like to pursue doubt because it has a source. So I started to, why am I doubting that? Is that just other people's voices, or that's my voice, that my true voice, my truths trying to speak up? And I started to, and the thing is, it kept me up at nights. It truly did. I'd be tossing and turning because I keep thinking, who am I? Outside of being this brilliant student, my mother's daughter that she loved, my father's daughter, my brother, my siblings, outside of all that, am I just a divorcee? Who am I? In trying to find that out, again, this whole thing of what I'd been through sexual abuse, how I'd gotten there, kept coming back to me. I kept dreaming of leading persons, rescuing them under sniper fire, all kind of things. Dreams kept coming, dream after dream, always leading people to safety, always protecting and shielding people, always carrying them to dangerous territory, getting them to the other side. And it made me take stock. That and the conviction that I really did not want to go back into journalism. And all I wanted to do was to speak words of healing into people from the stage. It's like I couldn't, it just wasn't. So what I started to do was find myself shifting. I started to have less desire for the journalism and the 9 to 5, and more desire for, I need to start my own business kind of thing. So that is where the call, the pull And then the stories that people would tell me and how I could meet women and know and sense the depression under the smile and sense their unhappiness, and it just kept pulling at me more than anything else. So that is where, so it was during that process of when I was divorced at my worst, at my most vulnerable, broken, with it seems no other option except to get a degree before me. That was like at my lifeline. When I had nothing else is when my purpose became more special. When everything, all the other voices, when I shut them out, shut them off, and decided, let's find out who Belkis was. And that is when purpose said, I've been preparing you all along. And I thought I wasn't prepared, but I've been a whole lot of prepared. And and kind of said, this is where you want to go. And I could feel the Holy Spirit like urging me every time I try to go back to that, the safer, secure, what seems safer and secure. The tug was more to that side. And it's like, you won't be happy until you get where you're supposed to be. And every time somebody asked me to speak and I was able to teach something, is like there was this, it became like a drug. Purpose will be like that. It's like a drug. It's addictive. When you so that's where purpose find me, because it's like, I had a speaking engagement. I've been speaking before, but now I was speaking with intention, with structure, with everything, with me totally connected. And I became so alive. I didn't want to ever not be that alive ever again in my life. Purpose pulled me to my life.
Yeah, it does have a way of doing that.
So, for everybody, it's different. Different people have different, but that's how it is when I was challenged with knowing who I was, what my value was, and what I contribute, what I bring to this world that I'm in my unique way, not based on what anybody else say or is doing. And that's the thing about truly discovering who you are, going through that process. And is that when you know that you know that you know who you are and what you're about and what you can give, the value that you have, and when the world's standards and the world's ideologies and what everybody tried to put on you, the labels start falling off and you start living above, beyond, and outside of that, that is when you realize outside of all those inhibitions, purpose is waiting all around. Your purpose is waiting all around. So the moment you step outside of that, boom, it snatched you and said, let's go. We're doing something totally different. People would want to know who you think you are. But by then, you would know who you are. So it's not about what they even think.
That is such an amazing story. And I have a feeling that we could go on for another couple of hours. And I would love that. I would love that. I say that in all pure love and delight. Would you come back again and share more with us at some point?
I would love to. They told me I'm like a walking encyclopedia or something.
Please tell our viewers, beautiful soul, if you have or know someone who has experienced the kind of trauma that Belkis has been brave enough to be vulnerable and transparent with you and us about, and you want some help with that, I mean some honest, good, God purpose help with love, total acceptance, and no judgment, this is your lady. Please, Belkis, tell us how our viewers can find you.
I am all over social media. Belkis Clarke. Belkis Clarke, that's Belkis, Clarke, Clarke. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest. And my website is my name, www.belkisklarke.com. That's BelkisClarke, no spaces.com. You can check me out there. Send me an email, info@belkisklarke.com. come. And if you're wondering what it is that I can actually help you with, when it comes to abuse, you need to rediscover who you are, because it snatches away something. It takes something, it tears you up. The trauma, the hurts, the past, the bad relationships, the brokenness, the physical abuse that we've been through, it tears something away from us. So we go through the process of identifying sources of your healing, and then we learn how to take that hurt and let it become the balm you need for your healing. And then we discover what your purpose is in that newfound healing, and that's your unique and your innate value. Not that I'm beautiful and I'm valued, but what do you really bring to the table? What's inside of you? We uncover that, and then we wrap it all up in your truth. All your experiences, we wrap it up nicely in your truth with a bow, and help you to map out your customized life plan that brings you the kind of happiness, healing, and the purpose that you're looking for.
You can't say it much better than that. So if you have experienced traumatic abuse of any kind is traumatic, okay? So that's Belkis, Belkis, Clarke, CLARKE.com, BelkisClarke.com.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, beautiful lady. Oh, amazing. Just amazing. We have a gift for you on angeldreamteam.com. It is Become a Mover and Shaker of Your Reality. Do stop by and visit us. We'd love to hear your comments and to share this podcast, where you listen to it on iTunes or YouTube or wherever. Someone you know, maybe even you, needs to get in touch with this beautiful soul to help heal more or begin your healing. So thank you very much for being with us, and Belkis, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your space.
Our pleasure.